know what? This is really frustrating. I was trying to think of something witty to say for the fact that I have not sat down and filmed a video like this in what feels like decades. And I cannot come up with something to save my life. So, hi, what's up guys? Yes, I'm alive. No, I don't know what I'm doing. Anyways, yeah. First and foremost, thank you for tuning in. Today I wanted to give a little bit of a life update, but then also talk about the books I've read since the last time I filmed a video at all like this. And that's really about it. I think I have a lot of books to talk about, even though I've gone through a serious reading slump this year. So I'm kind of gonna rapid fire the books. Like, I'm not gonna worry about explaining them too much, especially some of these I read what feels like 4 or 5 months ago. So you know the thing where you remember loving the book but you've forgotten everything about it? That's probably gonna be the case with a lot of these things. So without further ado, let's finish up this intro and just get right on into it. If you see the gel polish coming off of my nails, no you didn't. My nails have looked fire for like 5 months straight. And I don't know what it is about the gel this time around. But of course, the day I want to film a video, my nail polish is starting to come off. Okay, so before I get into the books, I just wanted to give a quick life update. The last time I filmed a video like this, I'm pretty sure I had red hair. And now I have blonde hair with like 1.5 inches of roots. So clearly there's been a long time since filming the video because I did my hair 2 months ago. I know I've posted some vlogs since a sit-down video, and sit-down videos aren't really my style anymore anyway. I do prefer vlogs, although I would like to catch you guys up on what I'm reading like more regularly going forward. But anyway, I prefer vlogs. But something kind of traumatic happened to me personally. I'm okay, safe, everyone in my family's okay, healthy, safe, that's fine. But it kind of caused a snowball effect of extreme depression and anxiety. And there were moments where there were weekends, there were days on end where I couldn't leave my bed. And I'm still falling into these pits, I guess you could say, of trying to deal with these things and live through these things. And it's been very, very hard. And this year, it's hard to say stuff like this because you don't want anyone to think like my problem's worse than yours, because that's just not the case. And comparing problems is something we should never do as a society, as humans, as friends, as family. Like, you should never be comparing problems. But obviously people in the world close to me, far away from me, people I don't never met are going through things that are much worse. But this is and has been the hardest year of my entire life. And I've been going through things I never thought I'd have to go through. And I've been feeling things I never thought I would ever feel. So I have felt very much not like myself almost this entire year, but especially in August, September, and October. And now that it's November, it's currently November 4th. The only thing that is bringing me joy at this moment in time are my cats, my amazing husband, not to sound cheesy, Sam's the best, my family, and Christmas music. So, you know, Halloween season, everyone who knows me knows that Halloween's my favorite holiday. So Halloween season did kind of give me some joy, but Christmas music is just very feel good. So it's kind of bringing me a little bit of joy. Am I out of what I'm going through? No. So just to kind of give you guys an update, I'm not out of that. I don't know if I'll ever be, when I'll be. All of that is up in the air. I'm not really sure. But I want to try to focus on things I'm passionate about again, which is obviously filming YouTube. I've been on YouTube for 5 years now, and obviously I've had different trajectories, different ideas behind my channel throughout the course of my channel. It's changed a lot, and I don't post even a quarter as much as I used to. But I do really love this channel and love where it's going. Now, I think this intro has been long enough. I think this live update has been long enough. If you know me, you know I have a problem like rambling probably. I don't know, do people say that about me? I feel like I have a problem rambling, but I'm not really sure. Let's just talk about the books. Now, It's been a long time since I've updated you guys on what I've read, and I have filmed a couple of vlogs where I've shown the books I've been reading, but we're probably talking about quite a few books here. So I'm gonna start off where I left off. If you're curious at all, I'll leave the link for my last wrap up, which was a quarterly wrap up, which was my intention to do these quarterly, and now here we are. I think it's been 2 quarters since I did that one, so anyway, I will leave it linked down below. But let's just get on into the books. Here is a fun fact. I thought I had filmed a wrapped up. I don't know what just happened to my brain. I thought I had filmed a wrap up in May or June, but I think I filmed it in April. And on my YouTube channel, it says it was uploaded 6 months ago. The last book I talked about was The Hating Game, and I read that from April 4th to April 5th. So we're just gonna rapid fire go through these things, okay? The next book on my list here is Twice Shy by Sarah Hogle. This book had a lot of raving going on. It's very, very, very sweet. If we liken it unto candy, it is possibly too sweet for me. There just wasn't enough depth or, gosh, I hate to say depth, but anyway, I didn't love it. I gave it 3 stars. And I just put, I think that objectively this is a good book, but it definitely was not the kind of book that fits my fancy. If you like adorably sweet contemporary romances, you'll love this. I don't think there was anything wrong about the book, it just wasn't for me. Also, there was no smut, so I was like, what's the point? The next thing here is Stars Above and Winter from the Lunar Chronicles. Stars Above is like the collection of short stories, I believe, and then Winter is the 4th and final installment in the Lunar Chronicles. This was a series that I actually loved. The world surrounding the Lunar Chronicles I loved. I was really disappointed in the 3rd book, Cress, which is such a sad thing because the covers that I have for these, they're like the paperback newer covers. First of all, the art is stunning, and Cress's cover is my favorite, and also Rapunzel, great story. Love Tangled. But yeah, kind of disappointed. So I gave Winter 3 stars and Lunar Chronicles 3 stars. But I think after reading Cress and being disappointed in Cress, I was kind of disassociated from the books. But I was glad that I finished the series as a whole. So the next thing on my list is Portrait of a Scotsman. This is out of the A League of Extraordinary Women series by EVA Dunmore. This is the 3rd one. So the very first one is actually right here, Bringing Down the Duke. It's one of my favorite books of all time. If I could go back and like forget everything and reread a book, that would be like high up on the list because that's how much I love that book. I'm gonna start off by saying I really liked this book. I feel like the main characters had a lot of chemistry, and I really liked the journey they went on together, and they had a lot of hurdles to overcome. The way their romance begins is like very dodgy. A lot of shady stuff happens on both her side and his side and their family and all that kind of stuff. It's not really her fault, just a lot of it is her family's fault. Anyway, something happens at the very end of this book though that made me want, if I had the book physically, I would have thrown it across the room, but I was reading it on my phone because I had an arc of it. So good thing I didn't throw my phone across the room because I can't afford that. But it is wrapped up nicely. But if you go through and look at the reviews on Goodreads, a lot of people feel the same way about me about the very end of the book. Really quickly, not a spoiler, it does have a happy ending. I mean, it is a romance book, but something happens at the very end that kind of just like, is just completely unnecessary in my opinion. And if the author wanted to tell that story, she needed to have given more time to it, is all I have to say. The next thing on my list is People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. I have not read Beach Read, even though I own it, and I've been meaning to read it for like almost 2 years now, or whenever it came out. I really like this book. I gave it 4 stars. It wasn't my favorite book of all time because I'm not a big friends to lovers person, but I did really like the journey we went on with these characters. The only thing I will say is I felt like I couldn't fully connect to either of them. And I think that's where the 4 stars comes in rather than a 4.5 or a 5 star for me. I don't think it's a bad book. I think people are gonna be obsessed with it, and they are. And like one of my best friends, she loved it. She gave it 5 stars. So I think it's valid to give it 5 stars. I didn't connect with it as much as I wanted to. The next book is A Court of Frost and Starlight. I actually never read this. I got through the ACOTAR series and just didn't read it because I heard it wasn't great, and then I knew we were gonna get another book eventually, so I was like, oh, I'll just read it right before the next book. And then obviously A Court of Wings, what is it called? What is it called? What is it called? A Court of Silver Flames. I had to look through my pile of books down there. Obviously we got that earlier this year, and so I was like, oh, I should read A Court of Frost and Starlight. I didn't even rate it because I didn't pay attention because it was really stupid, if we're being honest. I can understand how I probably would have liked it a lot more if I had read it right after ACOTAR, but it's been almost 3 years since I read ACOTAR, which is wild to think about, but it really has been. So yeah, anyway, no shade to it. I didn't care. Hopefully I get around to A Court of Silver Flames, because so far I have not yet started reading that. The next thing is Shipped by Angie Hockman. I gave this 3 stars. It is a very interesting book, and I think it had the potential. It was like supposed to be the Unhoneymooners meets the Hating Game, because you have kind of like 2 people fighting for the same job within the same company, and then you have a vacation vibe because they have to go on this like cruise, like this exotic cruise. I really liked the setting. I really liked being on the boat. I really liked them visiting the island and like learning about the animals and the cool things there. And I liked our main characters. I just, it didn't really hit hard for me, if that makes sense. I don't know. It just wasn't that exciting. Moving on. Guild by Raven Kennedy. I don't think objectively these are fantastic books, but I was like fully enthralled into this world. So this is like a, what is it called? A Midas retelling, King Midas or whatever. You know how like the golden touch turns things into gold, but it is very, I don't know what the right word is, like sensual, and it is very explicit, and not in like a fun way most of the time. It actually gets quite dark, which I actually can appreciate. I do like it when books get a little darker and they touch on more serious dark topics and we watch characters overcome these things. I actually really like that. But anyway, I really like these. I read the first 3, which are the only ones that are out, thinking that the series was done. I'm an idiot. The next one doesn't even come out till next May. So I have, by the time I finish, because I think I finished Gleam, which is the 3rd one. So there's Guild, Glint, and Gleam. Gleam I finished at the end of July. So I have until May now, till the next one comes out. So yeah, we'll see. Anyways, I definitely recommend those books if you like fantasy romance. Fair warning, you do not really get into the romance aspect of it until like halfway through this 2nd book. But I do think it was important for it to be that way. Like, I think our main character really needed to go through the things she went through and really create a very deep bond with the romantic interest partner in this book. And there are a lot of heavy topics. Definitely read trigger warnings before you go into it. Next, I have the Atlas 6 by Olive E. Blake. Okay, first of all, the lighting is changing. I'm using natural lighting. I've been really vibing with natural lighting. I've not really been using my lights ever. Not that I filmed a YouTube video in forever though. I don't know where I'm coming up with that. So sorry about the lighting. I'm sure you guys don't care though. So we have the Atlas 6 by Olive E. Blake. I read this from late June to early July. This reminds me of the chiropractor because I kept reading it at my chiropractor appointments, because at the time I was going to the chiropractor 3 times a week. Anyway, okay, so I gave this 5 stars. I loved this book. This is definitely one of my favorite books of the year. This is a dark academia fantasy story of people that can do magic. It's very dark, very kind of gruesome, a very cutthroat world that they're thrust into. But my favorite thing are like reluctant found families, and then also like having just the most different characters on screen together. It is just so fascinating to me. I love character interactions when they're like this. And so like this book just was perfect for me. I love the writing style. It is a very, I feel like it's dense at times, but not always. And there were characters you started out hating, and then you, by the end of it, were like really liking them, or characters you were super unsure about, and then by the end had a, anyway, lots of character journeys, lots of character growth, lots of intriguing things. I'm really excited to keep going with the series. The unfortunate thing is I'm pretty sure we're not even getting the 2nd book till next fall. I don't know if I'm gonna have to reread this again, we'll see. The next book was one of my favorite books of this year too. It is The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. I read this in May. I don't know why it's on my list weirdly. I read this in May. I got an ARC of it, very lucky, because this was very anticipated for me and I received the ARC. I loved this so much. I thought the chemistry was perfect. I do realize that like the circumstance that brought the 2 characters together is not only highly unlikely, but probably just something that 2 people wouldn't, like, I don't know, maybe unlikely is just the right word. But anyway, I love their relationship. I really liked that the 3rd act conflict wasn't centered around miscommunication, and the characters came together and were just able to communicate about what was going on. But it basically is a Raylo fanfic, and if you guys know me, you know. Anyway, Raylo fanfic, it basically is like a contemporary romance Raylo fanfic, and I was just all over it. I also was all over the main, what is it called? The hero? Is that what we call the male love interest in a contemporary romance? Anyway, I don't know. I just loved his personality. Everyone looked at him like he was, everyone said he was like the bad guy of the school, like professor. But anyway, I didn't think that. I was really excited to get to know him. I feel like I did not do that book justice at all when I was talking about it, but needless to say, obviously I loved it. It is one of the best contemporary romances I've ever read. It's definitely one of my favorite romances I've ever read, so just take my word for it. The next book on the list is the xtalk. I gave this 3.5 stars. I didn't even write a review. I just remember like liking some parts of it a lot and then not really caring about a lot of the other stuff. I did read it kind of quickly though. But that being said, it wasn't bad, it wasn't good, it probably just wasn't for me, is what the outcome is probably. It's about these two people who work at a radio station, and one of them wants to be a radio host, I think, and she's not yet, she's a producer, and the other one kind of gets to be a radio host, and then they create this show because the radio station is kind of tanking and they're trying to come up with something new. They come up with this new show. These two people who hate each other are the hosts of it, and they're pretending to be exes even though they aren't, and that's the plot. Although I wish that there would have been more on radio chemistry between them. I just feel like the radio shows weren't used as much as they could have been. That's all. Okay, the next one is The Chosen Ones by Veronica Roth. This was one of those books where I was like, nothing sounds good to me. I don't know what to read. I'm in a really big reading slump, and the only thing that sounds good is like a sci-fi book that has like reluctant found family vibes. Insert Chosen Ones by Veronica Roth. I don't think objectively this is an amazing book, but I loved it. It was exactly what I wanted for the time. I gave it 4.25 stars. Basically the plot of this, I mean, I'm sure most people have heard about it because I don't think it's a new book. I think it came out like two and a half years ago. But you have these 5 kids who, it's now been 10 years, but like 10 years ago, they saved the world essentially. So now we're 10 years in the future, which is current time for the book. And you're kind of like learning through these characters what they went through and how they're all kind of progressing through the trauma that they felt just being so young and having to save the world. And then this new problems are coming, and it's kind of like very sci-fi-y, but I really liked it, okay? That didn't do any justice. I don't know why I'm throwing my hands at you. That didn't do any justice to the plot or whatever, but I really liked the characters. And there is like a Raylo love interest kind of plot that goes on. And I loved it, okay? Thank you. Yeah. Moving on to a new favorite series of all time. So I started reading the Bone season at the very beginning of September. I was kind of floored by this book. I didn't know what to expect. You know, it's actually kind of funny because I feel like when I first okay, where is this hair coming from? Go back. I feel like when I first started Owl Crate, I got like Bone season socks, which by the way, I just don't know why they needed, like book boxes need to send like bad quality socks. Like we don't really need them. But anyway, Bone season socks, and I was like, what the heck is this? I don't know what this is. I don't even know. I think I donated them. However, I kept hearing about the Bone season, and it kept, I don't know why it kept coming up on my radar more recently. And then I like saw the raving reviews on Goodreads, and I was like, let's just try. I very unexpectedly love this. First of all, one thing I will say is it takes place in England, which I'm obsessed with. We all know this. So I was very much drawn to that aspect of it. It's also future tense, and no, not future tense. They're not speaking in future tense. It's not written in future tense. It takes place in the future. In the 2050s, I believe. It is a like dystopian style sci-fi plot kind of world essentially. And I really like our main character. One thing that does happen is it is a very, 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 very slow burn romance between these two people. And you kind of have two different species. You have the humans, and then you have this like alien species that you don't really know anything about. Essentially what happens is Paige is, what do they call them in the book? A voyant, like a play on of clairvoyant. They're called voyants if they have these special magical abilities. So something is happening, she gets kidnapped, she's put into this world where she now has to essentially be a slave for these alien species kind of thing. It all goes on from there. It's a very weird sounding plot, and the writing I didn't love in the first book, but it definitely grew. So yeah, I read the Bone Season, I read The Pale Dreamer, which is a novella prequel to the Bone Season. Then I read The Mime Order, which is Bone Season number 2. I read The Dawn Chorus, which is 3.5. So I read all of those. They were all fantastic. I love them all a lot. Actually, and then I also read, The Mask Falling, which is the 4th one. I don't know why I forgot about that. My favorite was definitely the first one and the 4th one. Those were the best in my opinion. I gave the 4th one 4.5 stars. The first one, Bone Season, I gave 4.5. Mime Order was 3.75. The Dawn Chorus was a 5 out of 5 because it was absolutely perfect. And if you've read the series, you know why I say that. And The Song Rising, which is the 3rd one, is 3.75 stars. I'm sorry, I just made that all really confusing. Needless to say, I really enjoyed the series. It is very dense, and it is very dark. So like, if you're in the mood for a very heavy, dark, dense, large world fantasy series, sci-fi fantasy series, then pick this up. If you're not in the mood for that, it's probably not going to be the right time because it is a lot of work to read these books, if that makes sense. And I don't mean it in a bad way, it just is a lot of work and you definitely need to be like in the right zone. The next thing I read is like, I don't know, maybe you'd call it a novella. It's Prosperous Demon by KJ Parker. It's about this guy who can like see these spirits who are like demon spirits, and his job is to kill them kind of, but they don't die, so it's just to take them out of the human that they like settled into, and then they go run off and do it again. His job is never ending, but it's like kind of like I think they say it's like Deadpool meets The Witcher, but it takes place in like some, like, it kind of felt like a medieval time kind of vibe. I don't really know how to describe it. I gave it 3 stars. It was fun. I read it in like the matter of an hour, and it felt nice because I read it at the very end of September. So it kind of like led into like spooky season, which was cool. I'm gonna talk about the next book, which is so disappointing. It is The Death of Jane Lawrence by Caitlin Starling. I was so excited for this book. I've been excited since I first saw the cover like earlier this year. I requested an ARC for it. I got denied because I don't review enough of the ARCs that I'm given, and so now I don't get any of them, which is just so fantastic. I DNF'd this at 70%, and you might be thinking, why didn't you just finish? Like, you're really close to the end. That's how much I hated it. And I think because it started on such a high, I really liked it at the beginning. I really liked where it was going, and then it just had such a fall. And then it was just so confusing. From like the 45% to the 70%, I was reading this being like, what am I reading? This doesn't make sense. There is no logic behind the magic that comes into play. None of it makes sense. I just started really despising it. I just decided to DNF it. The cover, flawless. Beautiful, flawless, perfect. I don't think I'm gonna sell my copy, even though I'm sad that I have a copy of a book I don't like. But the cover is just chef's kiss, beautiful. So there's that. I don't even wanna get into the plot. You can look it up. I'm sad, okay? I'm just sad. Then I reread Carnival and Legendary to prepare for Once Upon a Broken Heart, which is the new book in that world, which is like Jax's love interest story. I enjoyed Carnival the second time around. I didn't like it as much as the first time, but that being said, I was never like a massive Carnival book fan. I was a Carnival series fan. I did the opposite most people did. Most people loved the first book, Carnival, and disliked the Legendary and finale. I was the opposite. I thought Carnival was fine. I thought it was a good book, but like nothing to write home about, other than the fact that the world was really cool, and like the game of Carnival was really cool. I'll give it that. But Legendary and finale, I loved. The world, the plot, the romance, intrigue, mystery, all that kind of stuff. So I reread Carnival, and everyone knows what this is about, but I gave it a 3.75 stars on this second read, and the first time I gave it a 4 star. I don't know why I felt the need to knock 0.25 down, but I did, okay? Anyway, then I reread Legendary, and I think this was my favorite book out of the series, if I remember correctly, but I just finished it last night, and I did most of it on audiobook, and I just restarted finale, and so I'm only like 25% or 30% into finale, and I'm also doing the audio, but I'm really enjoying it so far. And since I've already read it, I can tell you it can just be included in this wrap up, because why not? I've already read it before and I know I'm gonna like it either way. And then we can just start off on a clean slate, because it's the third of a series. It's like the last book of a series, kind of. So the next time I do a wrap up, I don't have to talk about. I don't know why I'm rambling about this. But anyway, I obviously read a lot of books. I have no idea how many that is. I did not read as much as I typically do, because as I was saying earlier, I've just felt like a lot of my passions have instead caused anxiety rather than filling me with happiness. So I haven't been reading as much, and as I said earlier, also like I felt very much not like myself. So I think that resulted in like, I don't know, you know what I mean. So I didn't read as much as I normally do. If I had to do a wrap up like this where I read as much as I normally did, I'd probably have like at least 10 more books to talk about, which would just be a lot. But reading the Bone Season series and just everything I've read since has kind of really kicked in my love for reading again. So I just kind of want to go on with that trajectory, keep reading, and I'm also reading currently the second book in the Kingdom of the Wicked, and I'm really enjoying it so far. It's called Kingdom of the Cursed. Everyone's talking about it though, so you probably already know a lot about it. But yeah, lots of books, lots of life updates. Okay guys, thank you for watching. I know I don't usually post, film, or edit or do anything with sit down videos. I'm basically kind of just like a vlog gal these days. That's all I really like to watch, and that's all I like to film. That's what feels most authentic to me. But I appreciate you watching. I kind of want to do more wrap-ups in the sense maybe like quarterly, so maybe I'll just do one at the end of the year, and then I'll just start doing them quarterly next year, because I do really like reading and I want to let you guys know what I'm reading about, because I love talking about the books I love. So yeah, thanks for watching though, you guys. I hope you have a great morning, noon, evening, day, night, whenever happens to be there watching this video. And then we'll see you in my next one. But before we go, this is one of the best shirts ever, and you can't tell me otherwise. We're all fine here now. How are you? Bye.